Hello there. I'm going to kick off 2025 as I mean to go on by making stuff. And what I'm going to make is a beater for a drum, but a shamanistic beater. Welcome to Colganology. For the body of my beaters, I'm going to use these interesting pieces of wood. Now, I'm not entirely sure what sort of wood it is. I think it might be sycamore. But what's interesting is the patterns. These patterns are called spalting or spalting, S-P-A-L-T-I-N-G, and it's caused by a fungus that gets under the bark and into the wood and releases a kind of dye that dyes the wood. And you get these beautiful, beautiful effects. Some very intense, like that one there, where it really covers the whole bark, and some that's a little bit more sparse, like this one. But I found these pieces of wood on a beach, on Portaloonie Beach in Cornwall, when I was on holiday 10 years ago. And I've never known what to do with them. So now I'm going to use them with these beaters. I'm also going to use some blackthorn. Now, this is my hooking stick. As you can see, it's a stick. Rubber end on it, but it's got a hook at the top, and I use this when I'm going out looking for wild fruits, because you can reach up high like this, and you can pull the branches down so you can reach the damsons and the blackberries that no one else can reach. But when I first found it, it was quite long, so I chopped quite a few bits off the end. So what I have is a whole bunch of little pieces of blackthorn like this that have been seasoned for a year and are ready for use. So what I need to do now is drill a hole into the end of these so I can then insert the shaft of the beater, basically those bits of spalted wood you saw just now. First stage done, we have handles, we have shafts. So now we're going to think about what goes on the top, the actual beater part. Now this is lamb's wool, very simply sewn into a little, I don't know, like a bearskin shape, isn't it? Like a guardsman would wear outside Buckingham Palace, but it's like a little guardsman shape, like a little hood. And this will go over the top of the shaft and then be stuffed inside with filler to really make it firm but also soft. And once we get those on the top, then we'll start thinking about any other kind of decoration, such as leather and beads and all that sort of thing. Even feathers, maybe. I did make a beater for a friend of mine recently who has a bit of a thing about corvids and ravens in particular. So I made this beater using these lovely black feathers. Now, I don't pretend to know a great deal about shamanism or shamanism, depending on how you pronounce it, because it's not been a field that I've particularly explored. I've tended to concentrate more on British folklore and British culture, British folk culture. But, it's drums generally are found in almost any kind of belief system and any kind of mythology, because they do have a power, don't they? I mean, if you've ever stood next to the big bass drum of a brass band when it's going boom, 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 and you feel those vibrations go through your body, you can understand how people would feel that the sound, the vibrations coming off these things were kind of magical. You couldn't see what was happening, but you could see this drum was somehow transmitting this power to you. And of course, they've been used in healing by indigenous cultures for years and years. And that idea of a rhythmic beating has actually been used a lot, of course, in things like hypnotherapy. Whether it's a flashing light or a swinging watch or the rhythmic beat of a drum or the tick of a metronome, those kind of rhythmic patterns can lead us into different states of consciousness. And you saw it yourself during if you're old enough, during the 90s, with the whole club scene, and the appropriately named trance music, where people seem to be having some kind of religious experience, moving with the beat and the rhythm of the music. So, there's a lot of cultures, there's a lot of practitioners, even in the modern day, that use drums. And what I decided to do was to make beaters for these people. The beater I showed you earlier with the black feathers attached, that was made for my friend Raven, who was the model for our Wheel of the Year calendar. She was our goddess of the harvest. You might remember her standing in a field with a big scythe, and she absolutely loves it. And she gets a great deal of comfort from just sitting quietly tapping away on a drum and meditating, you know, and getting into that rhythmic pattern and getting into that flow and trying to match it to her heartbeat. I think that's a really nice thing. So I thought I'd make a few more. That's what this particular making gig is all about. And now we're at the stuffing stage, where I'm taking this fluff and shoving it up inside the head of the beater here. What I'm trying to get, you see, is a nice firm rounded shape where it's the same on all sides, same amount of depth of padding on all the sides, but not so much that it gets too hard, because we want a nice soft boom 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 when it hits on the skin drum. So yeah, we're stuffing lots of stuff inside there, and what I'll do shortly is I will tie off the bottom of the beater with a piece of leather. But first of all, let's get it all balanced straight. I see it's a bit too heavy on that side at the moment, need a bit more stuffing on that side, and then we'll tie it up, and then that'll be the main body of it done. Then it's just a decoration. Look, there's Alfie. Hello, Alfie. He's our guest dog, he stays here sometimes. Yeah, after stuffing, the next thing is to tie it off, and for that I've got a whole bunch of different coloured leathers, and I figured this one was the one that was most tonally right for this particular beater. So I'm going to cut a length of leather and tie it off. Tidy up the ends. Got a little nip with the scissors. Tidy up the end. And we are there. That is not coming off. I now have 3 beaters. They are of different sizes as well. I mean, this one's got a much smaller head to these, but that's what happens when you hand make. You never quite know what you're going to get. I mean, this one's got a big kink in it. This one here, which I rather like. I'm now using this whittling knife to round off the end a little bit, because it feels much nicer in the hand. I'm basically going to keep going around like this until I basically round off the end, and I'll just sandpaper it. And if you want to see one that I made earlier, here's one. Here's one I did earlier. Can you see? And it actually feels much nicer in the hand when you've got that rounded end. So that's what I'm doing now. Oh, hello, pug. There's a pug hiding under my desk. Hello, Harris. The next thing to do is to feed the wood, to basically give it some wood balsam, which nourishes the wood, protects it, it'll stop it cracking. And I wish you could smell my workspace right now, because this stuff is a mix of beeswax, pine turpentine and linseed oil, and it smells absolutely gorgeous. Oh, it's lovely. It really is lovely. So I'll give this a good rubbing into the wood, leave it for a little while to soak in, and then I'll buff off the excess. I'll do this 2 or 3 times. It'll just give that extra layer of protection. And then what I have to think about is whether I'm going to put any varnish on there. We now come to the final stage, which is decoration, and I think I'm going to use some feathers for this. So this all starts, first of all, with drilling a hole for a leather thong to go through. I've cut a piece of leather that's the same colour as the one we used to tie up the top of the head. Now I've just got to find the hole, which is really difficult to spot in amongst all the black markings. Ah, there it is. Found it. So we've now got a piece of leather going through the shaft. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach some beads to this, glue them in place, and then we're going to attach some feathers. As you can see, I've glued 2 beads together and then glued the ends of the, God, I'm state my nails, and then glued the end of the leather thong into each one, but that also leaves a hole at the end, and that's where the feathers will be glued into once these have set. Now I've used a spirit-based marker just to add some marks to the leather as well, so it more closely matches the beads. Now we're going to stick the feathers in. Got a nice little selection of feathers here. One thing to bear in mind when you're doing this is, of course, feathers are left-handed and right-handed depending on which wing they come off or which side of the body. So you want to try and get 2 that are curving the same way to go together. That's what I've got there. I'm going to snip the shafts off here at the ends, because I only want those 2 little nubs to be going into the beads. There we go, the final beater. All done, all decorated, all finished. So there you go, the final item. I hope you found that instructive or interesting. And I've just got to do the other ones now, and then probably stick them up for sale somewhere. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next video. Toodle-pip. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. Or click on some of these links to look at some of the other videos on the channel. Or press the like button. Or leave a comment. It would be lovely to hear from you. Any combination of those 4 things would be wonderful. Thank you very much.